Just a quick note before we begin, this script originally contained the word interwebs, which I used to say with irony, and now I can't say it with irony because I actually just say it, which is, I submit to you the root of all dad jokes. So interwebs is out, I'm afraid. Anyway, carry on watching the video now. See you in the future. This week in I'm growing my beard out again, so as you can see I now have a two-tone beard. Antimeria, 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 Antimeria. Antimeria. There are two different spellings for this word. We'll go into the meaning and all of the other things in a little bit, but there are two different spellings for this word. One of them has an H after the T, as you just heard, Antimeria or Antimeria, and one of them has no H after the T, which is Antimeria or Antimeria, depending on your point of view. I need to say at this stage that it's not really the correct one, but the what's considered the proper spelling or the classical spelling or whatever is the one without the H, and the reason for that is because it comes from Greek, and anti or anti comes from Greek. If you say Antimeria or Antimeria, then fine, everyone else does it, don't worry about it too much. I think we could all live in the same world and spell things differently sometimes, can't we? Is that possible? Anyway, I rather like this particular word. It was taught to me by my best friend the other day over the phone. She told me about this word, and then I realised I should probably do a video on it because, well, when you look it up, actually you find that not only is it very fun to say and has a nice sort of feeling in the mouth, I mean, make of that what you will, but also that it actually necessarily teaches you things about other things just by looking it up. Antimeria, specifically, I'm going to say Antimeria for the rest of the video, by the way. That's how I'm going to say it. I might end up saying it in different ways. Antimeria means to swap one word for another, so one type of word for another. You might swap a noun for a verb or a verb for a noun to give emotional effect to a particular sentence or phrase. Antimeria isn't just limited to nouns or verbs or adjectives though. You can swap around punctuation marks as well. Now this type of syntax swapping tends to make people a little bit angry. Well, angry? Oh no. That was a reference to a Stuart Lee joke there, by the way. Not on purpose, of course. That was just the way it came out of my mouth. This type of syntax swapping tends to annoy people quite a lot. It tends to make people quite angry, but as I'm going to go into later on in the video, I don't really care about that, and actually I think you'll find the people who are quite angry about that are already using lots of phrases or words that are Antimeria. We get the word Antimeria from the Greek, meaning, well, we break it down to two parts, anti and meros. So anti meaning opposite or different or against, and meros meaning part. So quite simply, opposite part. The most common examples of this is when nouns become verbs in sentences. I mean, it happens all the time. To Google something, for instance, that was a noun once, it was the name of a company, and now when we say Google, we mean to search the internet. Or to use a more established phrase, you might say that you're going to book a flight instead of reserve a flight. Of course, a book is a noun, it's a name for a thing, like a stack of pages which are bound together, and then you read, and then images happen in your mind, that kind of, the stuff that I really like, the stuff that I'm trying to make. Of course, it would have been the way that you would record people's reservations. So a shorthand way to say it is I'm going to book that thing. I don't even know why I'm explaining this to you. You clearly know what I'm talking about, but it might surprise you to know that, I don't know, those grammarians out there, that you use these kinds of swap overs all the time. And this, of course, is where it gets interesting. You see, it's not just nouns, verbs, adjectives, and even pronouns that get swapped around. It's also punctuation, as I mentioned earlier on. Has anyone used the word slash recently to you? And I don't mean to urinate, I mean to actually verbalise that piece of punctuation. An example might be that you invite a friend out for a drink and you say, let's go out for 1 pint. And because you know how it's going to go, you go, slash drink 9 pints, and then one of us is sick on ourselves and the other person loses the ability to see, and then maybe we sleep with someone inappropriate, because that's how it always goes, right? Drinking bants. So the verbalisation of the word slash is actually an example of Antimeria. So how is this teaching us anything apart from my proclivity to make examples involving alcohol? Well, if you're interested in English or writing or any of the creative arts that involve putting words on paper, then you're probably aware of the constant argument that's been going back and forth between the proscriptives and the descriptives. I'm not going to go into that argument here. You can look it up, or what I would highly recommend is that you read David Foster Wallace's essay in his collection Consider the Lobster, an essay called the essay is called Authority and American Usage. In that essay, he describes the argument between the descriptives and the prescriptives perfectly and in great detail over a course of about 40 or 50 pages. There's no way that I can cover all of that here. I recommend it highly. It's very entertaining. Go and find it. To put it in simple terms, you might say that it's an argument between people who are a little bit freer with language and people who think that we should all stick to the rules all the time. Clearly, there's a halfway house between these two places, but this particular word, looking up this word, taught me a little bit about actually how the mechanics of that work. I'm pretty sure that you'll find quite a lot of people out there who think that grammar is very important. You might call them grammar Nazis, which I think is a terrible way because it devalues the word Nazi, which should have value, and what I mean by that is a lot of negative value, and yet we call people who insist on spelling things and using grammar properly Nazis. I don't think that's right, but anyway, that's something else. What it shows is that those people who are a little bit more inflexible about language actually have flexibility within their language that they don't even know about. So I challenge you to find someone who does not say, I will book this flight, under the auspices of, that's not correct because that's only a noun. Also, I would challenge you to get one of those people who think grammar and spelling is uber important, which it is, but maybe not like the most important thing, and then reveal to them that Shakespeare was quite good at doing Antimeria as well, or Antimeria. Oh, the bard! How could the bard do such a thing? Well, he bloody did, and he did lots of different things which you probably disapprove of. So if you're irritated by new language and you think that other people are deeply lazy because they say things like lol or book instead of reserve or Google instead of search the internet, then, well, it's been around for bloody ages, mate. But also, correct. It's okay to have that viewpoint. You can have that viewpoint and other people can have a different viewpoint. There are different parts to society. There are different parts to writing. There are different parts to grammar and understanding the world. And it's really good that we all have a slightly different view on it, because then we can come to some kind of compromise in the middle. Imagine that in this world. Now, if you could please stop shouting at each other for minor infringements and calling each other Nazis all the time, that would be really good. Moving on from that, the other thing that this word teaches me is about actually that it comes from a very particular tradition. Antimeria is a tradition, it's a way of arguing actually within rhetoric. Rhetoric is the art of persuasion through emotional arguments. You might say things which are funny or angry or, well, any kind of emotion really, so that you can win that argument and persuade people to your point of view. You see, rhetoric is often a word which you use, well, I think we all sort of feel that we use for frothy-mouthed individuals on things like Sky News or Fox News or The Sun or, well, any of the Murdoch properties actually, but also, you know, places like The Guardian as well, where they basically stand around telling you how to think all day. And yet, rhetoric is everywhere. Some bell-end company trying to get you to buy something, so they're using a hashtag where they've coined some phrase. Rhetoric. Boris Johnson making you laugh while simultaneously saying something awful. Rhetoric. The term Brexiteer giving you images of romantic rebels versus Remainer giving you images of boring, moaning people. Rhetoric. I don't really have a lot more to say about that. Of course, there's so much more to say about that, but I think I probably said enough. Hopefully that hasn't ruined your day too much. Hopefully it's made you think a bit. Anyway, so that's that's that word I can't remember now, and also rhetoric, which is a word I can remember. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, maybe you'd like to see another. By the way, when I point at these things, if you're watching this on Facebook or on Instagram, you can't see these things I'm pointing to. So go to the YouTube channel if you can, give it a like and a subscribe. Anyway, here's another video here, and here is a story I've written, and if you press on my face you can do a subscribe. Congratulations, you've done a subscribe and a like. Well done. Anyway, have a nice week or something. Bye.